Hello, my name is Kate Morris. I'm a careers consultant at the University of York, and today I'm going to tell you how to make a great CV. So the key things we're going to cover are, first of all, how a CV is reviewed, the different types of CV formats that you can have. We're going to look in detail at CV content and real key things you can include. Got a CV checklist, and then at the end I'm going to talk through some really useful resources where you can get more help. Please keep in mind that I'm going to be talking about UK CVs today. If you want to know about advice for other countries, that will be in the useful resources section. So first of all, how are CVs reviewed? This really depends on who's actually reviewing your CV. It could be a human, so either an employer or admissions tutor, or it could be a machine, because more and more companies are starting to use applicant tracking systems, or ATS. There are a number of ways that you can get your CV selected by either an ATS or a human. Both of those systems will actually use keyword searches, so it's really important to use language that's actually mentioned in the job description. Use clear headings, detail full titles of qualifications or roles before you use acronyms or abbreviations. So you might have been a stick during your time as an undergraduate. No one outside York's going to know what that means, so you really need to put the full title. Keep the formatting really simple and consistent. Try to avoid using actual CV templates, boxes and tables, because these can get distorted by ATS algorithms. And it's always best to save it as a docx or a PDF, and then it will stay as you want it to. There are a number of different types of CVs you could make, but the one I'm going to focus on today is chronological or conventional CVs. These are preferred by most employers and they work better with ATS software. Usually they're up to 2 pages long, but some employers like investment banks prefer a 1-page version, or if you're applying to a part-time job while you're studying, 1 page is fine for this, but for most internships and graduate jobs, up to 2 pages is fine. The other types of CV are for specific sectors or circumstances, and we've got more info about this on our website, so check that out if you're interested. Okay, so we're going to look at an actual CV now. Key things to have on there. Firstly, your contact details. Obviously, they're very important. It's really essential to have your phone number and your email on there. Postal address is sort of a bit more optional. If you're on LinkedIn, it can be a good idea to put the link on for that as well. Now, the first section you might have is actually optional. You could have a profile, which is kind of a brief summary of what you're applying for or your career goal and highlighting any key achievements or information. So this is potentially useful for a busy recruiter to quickly understand what you're aiming for and what you've got to offer. It's sometimes worth including this on a speculative application because your cover letter or sort of cover email might get separated from your CV, so it's got that nice little summary at the top to say what it is that you're contacting them for. But it's usually unnecessary for advertised applications where you're already going to be providing a formal cover letter or your CV is part of a bigger application. Some examples of different profiles, first of all for a job. So a recently qualified adult branch nurse with community experience and a strong commitment to providing quality care. I'm keen to undertake my first post on a surgical ward. So they're saying they're qualified, highlighting their experience. The thing about quality care probably relates to something in the actual job description, and they've said specifically what it is they're applying for, and it's really nice and brief. There's no, I'm a team player, but I can also work on my own. It's specific. Second one here is for an internship. So a second-year environment economics and ecology student at the University of York with efficient and accurate data recording and IT skills gained through my degree and voluntary work experience at the RSPB. Seeking to gain an internship in a research organisation to develop experience for future career in wildlife conservation. So again, it's in the first person. They're highlighting specific skills related to what they want to do. So they want to get an internship in a research organisation. So being able to accurately record data, etc. is useful. They're highlighting they've done some voluntary work at the RSPB. So that's a relevant organisation if they want to work in wildlife conservation. So again, they're managing to say a lot in a really short little statement there. The next section you'll have in your CV, and this is essential, is going to be your education. Now, as you're at university, this is your current occupation, if you like. So that's why this would probably be the first main thing on your CV. It's important to get the dates, the name of the institution, and the qualification type. Include the grade if you can, or sort of predicted grade or expected grade. Get that nice and clear. Now, it doesn't matter what order you put those things in, but keep it consistent throughout the whole CV. Depending on what you're applying for, it might be relevant to include some details of modules that you've done, your research interests, the title of your thesis, other details about your actual qualification. But also consider the transferable skills that you've gained, because they can be equally, if not more important, depending on what you're applying for. Here, the first person has a master's, and you can see they've mentioned transferable skills and specific achievements, as well as details of the actual course. For the BSc student, they've laid it out slightly differently, which is fine. Just remember to keep it consistent throughout. Some employers ask you to highlight specific module grades, which they've done here, and notice how they've detailed not just what they did, but what they gained. So, developed effective presentation skills through regular individual and group presentations. You can see earlier qualifications from school are much more concise, and there's no need to talk about skills. Generally, the further back in time, the less detail you need to give. Another optional section you could have is technical skills. So if there are actual essential technical skills related to the role, you could consider emphasising these by detailing them in a separate section. The first example here is from a computer science degree, so you can see they've mentioned specific programs. The one below is a TFTI student, and you can see they've not mentioned every single skill they've got, but things that are particularly related to the job that they're applying for. So the work experience section is another essential section. Again, you want to have the dates, organisation name and job title really nice and clear in one line. Everything should be in reverse chronology in this section, so you start with your most recent experience first. Include the most relevant details of the role, so it's not a list of the entire job description, everything you did. Emphasise any key achievements or specific outcomes. It's great if you can do that, because it sort of shows what you added in terms of value as well as what you gained. And consider dividing your experiences with subheadings and collating related experiences together if you've had a mixture of roles. I'm going to show you an example of that in a sec. So again, you're likely to have more than one experience. If you've done lots of similar temporary jobs, you could actually include a summary stating the dates, type of organisations worked for, and a general summary of skills and experiences gained. And you can offer to provide further details if necessary. That saves you writing out the same thing over and over and over again. Also, if you've had lots of part-time jobs in between your more relevant experience, again, that's a way of lumping those things together, and then you've got the more important things higher up on your CV. If you've had a long career history, focus the detail on your more recent experience and consider a cut-off of about 10 to 15 years. But again, if in doubt, come and talk to us about that. Here you can see the first person has used a subheading of consulting experience to allow them to collate these two most relevant experiences together, despite there being quite a big time gap in between. Notice they've mentioned a specific outcome here. They produced an article on the invitation to purchase that was published by the Practical Law Company magazine. They've also used some great positive adjectives here. So they've researched, analysed and presented a business report, rather than just, I wrote a report. Below you can see they've used the title Other Work Experience for their less relevant jobs they just had to earn a bit of money. So the dates are quite broad and it's just various customer service positions. They've got a really nice summary here. So employed in a variety of customer service related roles during vacations and selected academic terms within commercial retail, charity, catering and leisure sectors. But they've still considered what they've gained from these roles, like teamwork and confidence. Another optional section is the interests and achievements. So if you're involved in volunteering, you belong to a society or a club, or maybe you're undertaking learning your own time, it's worth mentioning this on your CV, as it might have helped you develop some important skills and it showcases something about your character. You can see the first person here has done a couple of activities, but rather than just saying, I belong to a book group society, they've highlighted that they're an active member of the university's book group society, sharing my passion for literature and poetry through lively discussion. So even though they didn't have a specific role or responsibility, they've still made the most of this that they can. And it does actually provide really nice evidence of their genuine interest in literature, say if they were applying to the publishing sector. Another person below has been involved in a lot more activities, and they've organised this into different themes, which can be a really effective way to present it rather than just a long list. You can see they've had a particular responsibility here as marketing officer and are involved in areas like fundraising and liaising with different organisations and professionals. If they're applying for something related to marketing or events organisation, this could actually be moved to the work experience section instead. Just because something was unpaid or done as a personal interest rather than a formal internship, it doesn't mean it doesn't count. Another optional section is additional skills. This is a good place to put things you're not sure where else they fit, like languages, membership of professional associations, and so on. Remember, for some jobs it can be useful to say if you've got a driver's licence, if you were going into archaeology or a media role where you needed to travel to different locations, or if you're applying for a course with placements like teaching or social work. Once you've completed your CV, it's good to have a think through the following. So, are you using your name as a heading? You haven't got curriculum vitae on there. Make sure it's no longer than 2 pages of A4. Keep that formatting nice and consistent, easy to read. Use bullet points rather than paragraphs. Everything's in reverse chronology in each section, and there's no spelling errors, typos, that kind of thing. In terms of language, really use those active and positive adjectives when describing your experiences, not just a simple list of tasks that you've undertaken. And language should be not too informal as well. Remember, keep the CV in the first person, and you don't need any irrelevant details like date of birth, marital status. If you do decide to include a personal profile, make sure it's just 1 to 2 sentences and it's focused on that career goal. It's not just a random list of your personal qualities. You need to provide clear evidence of your skills and achievements, and the most relevant information is prioritised. So think about what you want on page 1 of your CV. And ultimately, make sure your CV is tailored towards the actual opportunity that you've applied for. So use that job description and person specification to help you make sure that you've done that. I want to tell you about some resources now that you could find helpful. So firstly, we have our own automated CV review system. Just log into the Careers Set tool, upload your CV as a PDF and review your CV score. You can then make any changes based on the feedback they give you, and then you can re-upload your CV each time you actually update it. For advice about CV requirements in other countries, have a look at the international work section of our website, and in particular the Going Global tool listed on there. It's got some really good info on it. Conversely, if you're an international student wanting to work in the UK, we have some specific web pages to help you understand how to approach this. You can also discuss your CV with me or one of my colleagues. Just see our website for details on our different types of appointments and how to book them. Finally, if you need advice on how to discuss presenting disabilities, extenuating circumstances, and other things like that on your CV, we've got a whole section of our website to help you with this, and I'm just going to show you that now. So just click on our homepage, have a look at the information for student and alumni groups. You can see in here listed students with disabilities, and within this section there's different types of advice depending on what stage you're at, but it's really worth reviewing this. Obviously, you can always come and talk this through with one of us careers consultants, and we can help you think about how to talk about things in a positive way or whether you want to talk about them at all. Okay, so goodbye for now. Thanks for listening. I hope this has been helpful. I've made another video on how to write a cover letter, so check that out if you're doing one of those, and come and see us if you need any more help.